Welcome back to another episode of the B2B 0 to 10 podcast. I'm your host, Brett Trainer. Today, I'm pleased to have Nina Froriep join the program. Nina helps coaches, consultants, business owners grow their businesses by teaching them video marketing and how to attract their ideal clients. I probably should have had Nina on the program before I started my new video series, but I can always make adjustments. This is a tool that not enough business owners are leveraging in their business, or at least to grow their business. And today, Nina breaks down for us the why it's important and how it drives new business and how to get started with the basics, right? I think you'll find this episode super interesting if you're not doing video. And when I say video, I'm not talking about digital marketing, digital ads, but video as you being the spokesperson for your brand. It could be super powerful and done correctly. And like I said, Nina helps us get started. So I think you'll get a lot of value out of this episode. And as usual, if you enjoy the podcast, please do share. And also follow, subscribe, like on your preferred podcast platform. Now, on to the interview. Hey, good morning, Nina. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I know, it's my pleasure. And this is one of those topics with video marketing, and it's so powerful and we know we should be doing it and just don't do it. So I'm going to bring the expert onto the show to talk to all of us why we should be doing it and how we do it. But before we dive in, why don't you share with the audience a little bit about your background and what you're working on today?
Absolutely. So my background is in filmmaking. So I'm the real deal. I've been in video and film production, one form or the other, for over 30 years. And yes, I started when I was 5.
We both did.
And you don't see me, so the joke's on me, I guess. And so I've worked on anything from independent features that had zero budget to mega huge national TV commercials. And then I kind of sort of landed the last couple of decades on working between documentaries and corporate video because that was a really nice balance. It was a similar setup in terms of crew creative and how it gets produced. But of course, the content is super different. And I kind of loved having both worlds because the corporate, although not very creative, gave me all the toys and bells and whistles and major budgets to play with. And the documentary stuff was just super interesting. And yes, it was also super low budget. So it was nice to be able to do both. And then, about 7 years by now, the writing was on the wall in big fat letters. As a small production company, you just didn't get any gigs anymore that were worth, as I say, were worth getting out of bed. So I was like, okay, I have 2 options here, just muddle through until I retire. And 17 or 18 years of muddling didn't seem very attractive.
That's a long time.
That's a long muddle. And I was like, okay. And the other option is to just roll up my sleeves and dig in and reinvent myself. I mean, I've pivoted before, but this was going to be just a complete reinvention of what I do and how I do it. And I gave myself naively enough 3 months to do so. Took about 5 years. The cool thing is now I work fully digitally with my clients, so I'm no longer stuck in one location. I can work from wherever I want as long as there's a decent internet connection. Brett, I tried out everything. Doing these mini shoots for, I was always very committed to helping small business owners be able to use the tools that we have today. Because it was those tools that basically put me out of business. So I figured, well, now that everybody can do video, the result of that was a lot of really awful video. So I'm like, okay, video doesn't have to be awful ever if you know what you're doing. And so I went through my own learning curve at first because, I remember my first couple of shoots, I still was sort of stuck in the big world, right? And with crew and everything. So I bought all this equipment and actually read the manual on it, which is a first for me. And it took me a full day to shoot 3 little measy videos that I had learned by heart, the content. And they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. And then a couple of months later, I just shot sort of a quick thing at my desk because I needed to get something out. I don't know what it was anymore. And I got such amazing immediate feedback on social. And that's when it clicked, clicked from having the experience myself, where I was like, okay, so me standing in front of a camera with like my looking like a deer caught in headlights and reciting a script that I've learned by heart, and it taking me 4 hours to do one script is not what people are looking for. What people are looking for is for me at my desk talking about what I love and what I'm passionate about. And so that was sort of a big aha moment. And now I'm at a point where I really strip it down to so simple that I always tell them I want my clients to look at video as something that is as simple as writing an email.
Yeah.
And there is no reason to get super technical and super fancy. You need a phone. And if you want to have a little desk tripod, fine. If you want to have a little light, fine. And that's about it. Editing software, shooting software, it's all in your phone.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And and yet still so few business owners or people, and I guess other than the kids, right? They're on video shooting them all the time. But yeah, as business owners, I don't know. Do you know Ethan Butte by chance?
No. Mm-mm.
He works for a company called Bomb. He's chief evangelist and been there. And so video and email, and he's like only like 6% of email or less than that are actually have video in them, right? But yet it's such a powerful and connecting tool. But yet I don't know if it's fear or afraid or I don't know what it is.
It's so what there's sort of three things that I think people bump up against in the bigger scheme. It's number one, it's the overwhelm and not knowing where to start, right? I mean, it's like, oh, I want video in my email, and then you find out like, oh, I cannot have. It's not by law. It's not permissible to have a video in my email. So what do I do? And then you're already like in overwhelm. You don't want to deal with it. But if you have somebody who guides you through it and says step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's like, oh, okay, so it's step 1, 2, 3, 4. Whether you do the steps or your virtual assistant does the steps, that's another thing. But it's if you know what to do and why you're doing it, none of it doesn't have to be overly complicated. And, so the overwhelm is step number one. So, where I'm always very committed is to make sure that you have a system pat down, so you then can be super creative and have fun with it, right? So making it easy and making it fun. And then I think the second thing where people get stopped is that they are not sure that they're actually going to see all those clients they were promised they were going to see. And I always take it a step further and say, you're not only going to see more clients, you're going to see your ideal clients, because video creates that trust factor. It shows you off at you. Like, I work with service providers, and as a service provider, you are the product. People choose to work with you. And if they've seen you on video already and they've seen you talk about, your expertise or about your thought processes, whatever it is, your thought leadership, or just simple tips, tip series work really well, they will select you, right? So if they like you, the chances that you will like them as well are pretty high. And all the ones that think that you're too skinny, too fat, and too young or too old or too this, that, and the other, they won't even show up on your radar, and they won't waste their time, and so won't waste your time. And then the third thing that I find, and that is the biggest one, is mindset. So the not having confidence to show up both physically and intellectually on video. So physically, for obvious reasons, right? We're just not that comfortable. We're not used to it. My clients are not the kids. My clients are, mature business owners. So, I certainly was not thrilled to be in front of the camera after a career safely tucked behind the camera right. At age 50. And I remember after that first long, horrible shoot, I actually went and got myself a facial, the first one ever in my life. And I was so shell-shocked, I bought myself a 10-pack. I've since let that 10-pack, I used it up, and then that was it. That was not my issue, obviously. It was just getting used to myself, being on camera.
Yeah.
And then the intellectual part of having the confidence. So, are people going to throw rocks at me because they think I say stupid things? And, is my content going to be interesting enough? Is my content be something that people want to watch? And those mindset, like the answer is yes. I mean, if, to the right audience, whatever you have to say is going to be fantastic. And if you keep it really short, which you should anyway on social media, and we're talking 60 seconds short, you can't really get yourself into a whole heap of trouble anymore.
True.
So.
No, so true. And I think you're right. The confidence and am I going to look dumb? I'm like, if you've spent any time on social media, you know, the best videos are the dumb videos in most cases. And I think it's just people looking to connect with the human side. And you talked a little bit about being, you know, if you're a service provider, you are the business. I think most business owners, regardless of service or not, are and should be kind of the face, if you will, at least the voice behind the brand. I mean, and maybe it's just who I've had on the podcast, but when I've had business owners that are growing quick, one, they're the owner and they're doing this podcast talking about it. So I know they're out in front in other areas. And I've just seen a correlation, unscientific, that high growth companies have exactly what you're talking about as the owner being, hey, you got to set the tone for this brand, and people buy from people, especially in the B2B. That's changing and shifting more towards that. Where you used in the old day, you talk about 30 years. In my earlier days of B2B, you just had to have a good product and you could get people to buy it. But now they want to buy behind why and who's doing this product. What's the experience going to be like?
Yeah. And I think there's so many people are moving into this, you know, coaching space, into the, you know, business coaches galore. And that's my sort of my core audience is business coaches. And it goes from anything from, you know, looking good to being on the right diet so you have the energy to do what you need to do, to actually straightforward, like, you know, what does my balance sheet look like coaching? So, you know, it runs the gamut. But there's so many out there. And, you know, in order to position yourself, in order to share what makes you special, like if somebody like looks at us and says like, oh, another video marketer. But if you spend any time watching any of our videos or any content really on social media, it's very clear that we have a very specific approach, and you're going to buy into that approach or you're not. So, you know, we don't serve meals. We teach you how to fish, and that's our thing. And I'm very passionate about that, because I think you'll do much better fishing than you will do, you know, spending $6,000 here and $8,000 there on one or two videos, or even 10 videos. And especially, I mean, if the pandemic taught us anything, you know, I remember I had my content already lined up and planned out months in advance, which I still do, but I now allow for so much more flexibility of content, because, you know, we had the pandemic, then we had, you know, Black Lives Matter, which is still important. And there were moments where our content was not apropos of what was happening that day. And we needed to have either create new content really quickly or go dark, you know. So you want to have that flexibility. And if you're creating videos with somebody who comes and shoots for you, you don't have that flexibility.
Right.
And again, it just becomes so easy. Why not do it yourself? You know, and you can always outsource editing. I always say the first thing you outsource if you need to is the editing.
Yeah, and then maybe that's a good transition to say, all right, I'm a new business owner. I've been in business for a while. My business is stuck. I know I should be trying this video thing. I come to you, Nina. What are the first few steps that you do to get somebody? And then we can get into some best practices as well. But is it the shift of mindset, or where do you start?
With the doing of it, it's like you know, it's jump into the pool. So we have sort of a signature program, which I just completely revamped this summer after running it for a year and a half, because I learned that I always was very, you know, sort of didactic about it. I taught, you know, strategy first, and then content creation, and then how to shoot it, how to edit it, and then how to host and post it. And what happened is that people would just sit there and go like, and then there was like a couple of weeks of shooting into editing into, oh, and now we need to host and post this. Oh my God, right? So I just totally put it upside down. And now when people start working with me, the very first thing I do with you is just set you up to shoot. And make sure that, you know, you have a decent background, that you have decent lighting, that you know how to frame yourself, and then go. And you just keep shooting. So it's a 4-month course. You shoot every week, at least one video. And we learn by doing, because that's the only way you will also be able to develop a habit, develop the systems and the sort of the playbook that works for you. So video does become a repetitive, easy task for you to do in terms of the technical aspects around it. So you then can actually focus on your strategy and your content, because that's really what I want you to focus on is, what are you going to say, and how are you going to use this, and what are your call to actions? Like, I can talk about call to actions until the cows come home. Because if you create a video and you don't have a call to action, then why create the damn video? Because if you don't tell people what to do at the end, then there is no engagement, and that's the whole reason. And that's where video is so brilliant, is getting people to act.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And before I started my new video series, I probably should have had this conversation with you. Because now I'm going to go back after this episode and like, all right, here's about 4 things that I can fix based on this conversation.
Hey, Brett, I'd be happy to look at them and give you some feedback.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Doing is so much easier, right? Because I came from the consulting world for a while, and it is a lot of theory and say, here's the process and the framework, and you do it. Yeah. But you know what? I love what you're doing. Just get out and do it, and we can fix it, right? We can say, this is why I do something different.
And you know what it also does? It helps me get people out of this perfection mindset. When I still had the course as a course where I was just like teaching at you rather than workshopping everything, I had people who would I had this one client, he spent 2 months just playing with his graphics to make them perfect. And back then I was too new also as a coach, because, I'm a filmmaker first and foremost. As a coach, I had to learn to help people snap out of perfectionism. And if you jump into doing immediately, those first couple of videos most likely are going to not be you might be great on camera. There's people who are amazing naturals,
right?
But you might have forgotten to put some light on your face and you look like you're in a prison, or God knows what other problems. But if you're just doing immediately, then you can also, there comes a moment where I'm like, this video is actually really good. You can post this. And they're like, whoa, post it? And I'm like, yeah, post it. Yeah, that's what you're here for.
Exactly. No,
and we'll hold your hand while you post it. And we will and we will like it, and we'll give it wonderful comments to give it a little bit of a boost. And that's the other thing. What I do I do one-on-one clients for sure, but I love my cohort group, because doing video in community and then having that support and immediate feedback, be it, when you're still in your baby shoes and you're not posting yet, or be it when you are starting to post, it makes all the difference in the world. And, when somebody sees somebody else did a really cool video, had a really nice idea about a content series, that's inspirational for everybody in the group, right?
Yeah.
And a group sees stuff that I don't see. Like, yes, I'm pretty good in coming up with content ideas, but if I'm in a group and everybody else is also a coach mostly, right, then they might come up with really great ideas that I don't. So I always think like the power of group and community is huge.
Yeah, and I've really come around to that philosophy here in the last 18, probably 2 years now, but more so because, again, working with, as I kind of pivoted my business, or not pivoted, niche down, right? I'm fishing more specifically, went broad, narrow. Now I'm super narrow with bootstrapped business owners between 0 and 10 million, right? I'd probably even take it to the next level like you did with service providers. But for now, I think it's good. But yeah, having that community, because most of these folks are on their own, not necessarily on a small team. So there's not a bunch that people can say, all right, we can do this together.
Yeah. I mean, I don't work with people who normally, if you are $500,000 to $1 million and up, you figured out video already. You don't need me. But everybody who's sort of in the, who's no longer doing consulting or they're service-based as a hobby, meaning they're now consistently in the, 120,000 a year, so 10,000 a month. There's for us, there's a sweet spot there between 120 and about, $500,000. That's sort of a sweet spot for us, because those are the people who will not have, the humdrum of like a crew. They don't want to deal. They don't want to pay for the crew doesn't serve them right now. Right. What serves them is to learn how to do it themselves. And then in a best case scenario, you outsource the editing. Although I tell you, I've taken back editing for my quick and down and dirty. I call them tissue videos, the videos that go on social media, because just sort of, sneeze into them and then throw them out like a tissue. So those I actually edit myself because it takes me less time to do it myself with some fabulous in-phone apps than it does to explain to my editor what I want.
No, it makes sense. And I think even to your point, as you're growing, it's perfect. That's 100%. Growing your business, you're still in the hustle mode. No better way to get your story out than with video, than people can connect to with the brand. But I've had some folks on talking about the content, right, as the owner of the business. I think there's folks that are in, $5 million, $10 million business that could benefit from now getting in front of the camera to talk about their brand. They haven't done it before. So I think there's the resource aspect, but then there's also, hey, do this. It's going to help your business, unless I'm guessing you probably haven't seen too many occasions where it's actually going to hurt the business if somebody's behind the camera, right?
Yeah. I mean, so the thing is, once you are over 1 million, I think million is sort of a really crucial pivoting point. Once you're in 1 million and above, you're probably not delivering the services yourself anymore. So then you showing up on camera is still important, but it's not your lifeline anymore as much as it was. I would say anywhere. Yeah, I would say probably up to 1 million, you're probably still quite involved. And I mean, if you're below 500,000, you're definitely still the one delivering the service. So you have to be in front of your clients.
Yeah.
And if you're visually with video in front of your clients, it'll make a ginormous difference. Once you sort of get to that 1 million, place where you have all the systems in place, you now have a proper team in place, you have staff, and you are no longer delivering the actual service. I think it's still important to talk about the company culture, but then it becomes important that the people who are delivering the service, that you give them a voice, right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And giving them a voice will also help greatly. And I've seen some figures somewhere, and I should look at the source. It's actually a great also retention tool. People who are allowed to sort of speak up on behalf of and are involved with the company culture, with their own sort of face image, etc., identify with what they do much more. So it's actually also a nice kind of it can be like a perk in a way.
Yeah. No, I love that idea. And, this is another one of those ideas that have come around in the last couple of years. Being in the B2B enterprise space forever, it was, hey, here's your job. You do it, you move on. And whether I fully believed in the company or not, right, I'm going to get paid, I'm going to get promoted, we're going to move. And where I'm seeing, again, maybe it's a shift and maybe it's just who I'm working with these days, the why are we doing this as the company? And if the owner's not passionate about the problem that they're solving, it's going to be really hard for the employees to be passionate. If the employees aren't passionate, it's going to be really hard for the customers to get passionate about what you're doing. Now, if you have the next great widget, it's going to sell anyway.
Yeah.
But those are rare, right?
Yeah.
So I love the idea of getting the team, the delivery, the folks who are on the front lines out in that, because again, this is the brand, right?
Yeah. And I mean, your people, if you're in a service business, your people are the company, right? So, I mean, the moment you're selling a widget, then the widget is what you're selling. And you can still sell a fabulous idea around why you created the widget and what the good it does in the world and all that. But if you're clearly like, a brokerage firm or even a law firm, or even lawyers have to be careful with what they say. But, if you're sort of in the dime a dozen world, like, accountants, brokers, realtors, business coaches, it's just so important to have that personality and make sure that, people, buy into your culture beyond just what you want them to think, but also, the people that work with you and around you. That's really important.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And I know I took us off topic a little bit, but
no, yeah, I did. But it's actually, I love exploring other avenues as well. So
and listeners of this podcast know that we do get off track, but
wonderful.
Most point is it's good stuff. All right. So if I'm thinking of just now, I met with you, say, hey, we're just going to start doing it. What are some of the do's and don'ts, best practices? How do I think about approaching this if I want to try it myself? Because what I found is everybody likes to try it themselves, but then realize, you know what, maybe there's somebody, a coach that can help me get through this, quicker,
Sure,
faster,
give
better.
you instead of spending 4 years of your life, we can do this in 4 months. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the big do's and don'ts. I mean, there's a bit of a list, but I would say, I mean, for sure, don't go out. I mean, some people just need to like buy something to get themselves excited over starting something new.
Right.
But I mean, don't go and buy a camera. Don't buy a huge, lighting setup. It's really in most cases just absolutely not necessary. And it'll just end up being one of those things. Like when I see clients and I say, so, okay, what kind of equipment do you have? 99% of the time, my question is, do you still have the receipt? Can you return it? And most people buy stuff, they unpack it, they see the 50,000 little bits and pieces that come with it, and the manual that is 3 inches thick, and then it goes into the closet to never be, never to be seen again. So that's number one. Don't overcomplicate your life. Once you're really doing it, and then then you can start playing. Obviously, if it's something that you feel like you really want to invest in terms of like the technical aspect of it, and then keep it super short. I always say one video, one tip, one call to action. In and out. And we did a video challenge just last week with a bunch of people, and Iris, who's she does just amazing videos, and she got through this amazing video, amazing tips, really funny, everything was really great, and then she got so caught up in the moment that she asked people 3 questions at the end, and I'm like, Iris, confused people don't buy, confused people don't engage. Clarity. So it's one call to action. Even if it's just leave a comment below on XYZ, that can be sort of the least salesy way to have people just engage with you, or download our lead magnet or whatever it is. So that's just keep it short and simple. The stats are that a video is 60% more likely to be watched to the end, and that's where the call to action is, if it's 60 seconds or less. So if you do have longer format stuff like lives or podcasts, or like we do live interviews with guests every other week, just create micro content. Sorry. So take a snippet where your guest or you sound particularly brilliant, and just take 60 seconds of that, and that goes on social media. You can then always add a link for people to watch, your entire playlist of all the shows that you have, or all the tips that you have, or whatever it is. But on social media, if people see something is much longer than a minute and a half, they might not even click on it, because who wants to spend 2 minutes, right? But if it's like, 59 seconds, 75 seconds, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll watch that. I have a minute.
Got it. No, and then by accident, I can't say I was intentional doing that, but yeah, with the podcast, we do snip it into, 60 seconds, sometimes a little bit longer, but not much. So I guess you kind of answered what my next question on that would be with the longer form, like on the video, right? A welcome video would probably, to me, make more sense than just text, right? And again, I haven't done that on my website, and I know we're getting a little bit away from video. So kind of, how do you view the longer form video? And then obviously we got the snippets for social. Do you make those recommendations?
Yeah, even on your website, a welcome video should not be longer than 60 seconds either.
Okay.
Because you don't know so people who come to your website they're coming from, you don't know where they're coming from, but I would venture to guess that most of them come on your landing page, not because they know you already, but because they found you, they Googled you, you popped up, on LinkedIn, they're now checking out your website. However, if now it's that somebody clicks on your about section, you now can probably venture to guess that you might have a little bit more of a captive audience. So you could put like a maybe 1.5 minute, 2 minute video there.
Okay.
But like I just talked to somebody yesterday. She's amazing. She's amazing on video. And she has a welcome video that is 12 minutes on her landing page. And I was like, no, it's a great video to have. And what you can do is, again, have it a short one and say, want to learn more, want to dive deeper, want to hear what I have to say about XYZ, want to hear my backstory, then link to the 12-minute one and have that hosted on I'm not a big fan of YouTube, but have it hosted on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever for those who want to have. So it's sort of like a permission thing, right? Would you like to learn more about me? Here's my 10-minute version, but give them upfront the short version.
The short version. Now, it makes perfect sense. And one thing I've already taken away, 60 seconds. if I'm thinking about videos, 60 seconds is where I'm looking.
And the dirty secret is my videos are never 60 seconds. And I've been doing this for so long that, I got a pretty decent following, so I can get away with a little more. But yeah, I'm always working on trying to make mine shorter too and not go on too many tangents.
And then tying that back, because the other thing I've been obsessed with lately is the storytelling aspect, because I do believe in the power, and that's something I have not been very good at. And so how do you incorporate, I guess you can tell a story in little 60 seconds or 30 seconds. How do you like to
define storytelling, right? So storytelling is not necessarily a story. That's number one. So if you're doing these 60-second things, what I work with my clients on a lot is series. So we'll do like my classic thing I have my clients start with often is just to do, most of us or most service-based businesses have a lead magnet to, get people into their orbit by, exchanging some tips for email address. So you can then sell to them on email. And so if you have a tip sheet, your top 10 reasons why, your top tips to survive video marketing. If you have a 10 tip sheet or 15 tip, whatever sheet, that is 15 videos or 10 videos right there. One video, one tip. The beauty of it is each time you post it, you can then put the link into the comments or wherever you put your link to download your lead magnet, right? So it sort of leads one into the other. The storytelling that happens with video is that video, unless it's on YouTube, rarely comes naked, rarely comes alone, right? So you always have the opportunity, like on LinkedIn, Facebook, to tell a story in the post, because you want to incentivize people to go to the video and click on it. Right. So the post is sort of the warm-up act. Or so the post can be the overview and the video can go into further detail, or the post can be a detail and you can encourage people to watch the video to get, the bigger view or whatever. So you can sort of play those two in tandem. The storytelling within a 60-second video to me is, hi, I'm Nina. I'm with Clockwise Productions. I'm going to talk about X today. I'm talking about X today. I'm giving them a call to action and I'm saying goodbye.
Keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, you remind me of something earlier in the show when you talk about perfection. I had a colleague back when I was in the consulting days, Calvin, shout out to you for always reminding me. He's like, Brett, done is better than perfect. Yep. Let's go.
Let's go.
Like,
exactly.
I still struggle with that today, trying to make sure I just want to get that one right word, one last the call to action. So
and at some point you have to just let go and do.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a very specific question, maybe selfish for my business, because you've got me thinking, because to my website right now, there's a blog post that I wrote. It's fairly lengthy, but it's driving like 5x more traffic to the website organically than anything else, but it's just a long blog. Is that something that I should break into a video as well? Or, I know I'm not leveraging it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So how would you approach something like that? It's because it's kind of backwards, right?
And that's fine too. So, not knowing what the subject matter is and how long it really is. Is it 5,000 words or is it 1,000 words?
Probably 2,500.
Okay, so it's pretty long.
Yeah.
Then what I would do is create videos around it where you just say like, hey, this blog post is the bomb and you need to check it out, and just keep it at a really simple, quick video that basically tells people to go and read it. Maybe also, why. Or what you could do is go into, I'm assuming you have chapters or you have, subcategories, and just pull out some of those and create content around that and just talk about, again, I would use video as teaser to get more traffic to it. If it's that good a content, and obviously something that long, you probably did a lot of research on it, and or it is sort of a meta blog of a topic, you can break it down into a series of videos that talk about that or talk about the specifics of the content. that becomes then a series that you put on YouTube into a playlist.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of what the new video, the new series that I'm doing on the shorter content on the podcast is breaking down that blog post into the framework and other bits and pieces. Yep. But based on our conversation, now I need to take that a step further and get the teasers for each of those into, because each of these episodes will be, less than 10 minutes, but definitely more than 60 seconds. Yeah. So I need to figure out how to even shrink it a little bit more. So awesome. Well,
and I mean, and if you have a captive audience, or if you are behind a paywall, you can definitely go longer. It's just sort of getting people that are not in your paid orbit yet, right?
Right.
So when you're looking at sort of the client journey, right, from unaware to aware to interested to having intent to buy from you specifically to then buying from you, you sort of have, it's really easy to move people along the line of unaware, aware to interested, but then moving them from interested into intent of actually wanting to buy from you. That is where this really sort of the big mountain is that you have to climb people over, because there's so many offers out there. And that's where video is brilliant. And that's where these short little videos, again, you just need to get them over the hump. Once you have them on the other side and it makes sense for you to have longer content, or a deeper dive, because, maybe people really want to check out much more who you are before they, some services are a couple of $1,000s, but I know, some coaches are $50,000, $100,000. So that audience, if you have that kind of long sales cycle and you have huge ticket items, then it absolutely does make sense to have longer videos that showcase your intellect and the way you're working with your clients, or more thought processes. But that wouldn't come until just before the purchase, right? That is then basically, here's an opportunity for you to learn even more about me before you spend $100,000 with me. But if I'm selling something that is $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, I don't need to do that.
True. Yeah, it's a much quicker sales cycle, and because I think number of studies or surveys, how they measured it, actually, I don't know, but at any given point, only 3% of your targeted buyers or prospects are in buy now mode, right? So they're actively looking to engage and buy. Yeah. So that means you want to be talking with your videos to the other 97% that says, hey, get to know me, right? Here's some value. Here's some help for you. And when you are ready as that part of the journey, it's going to make that process easier. And I think that's where still a lot of people struggle is it's a long game, right? I mean, you may get lucky and connect with the right prospect at the right time with the right message, but I don't know if I'd want to build my business on that strategy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. No, you need to be able to nurture. You need to be able to touch them over and over again. And the other thing is also with video, if they do see you over and over again, it creates on their part a familiarity with you that when they do get on that Zoom sales call with you, they immediately, know who you are. And that's always where I say, like, especially also for the ladies, it's like, if you always show up in full hair and makeup and, all beautifully made up, and you also do that on your Zoom sales calls, and you also do that once you've booked a client and work with them, fine, by all means, go ahead. But like, as you can tell, I mean, you guys can't see me, but I don't bother much. I mean, I want to look nice and I want to look clean and put together, but I'm not, I'm not into makeup and stuff like that. So I actually show up on my videos the way I show up on a Zoom call and the way I will show up when clients work with me. Just because you don't want that disconnect to happen, because that's then going to be betray of the trust. Right. So the trust and the money in the bank that you have because they've seen you on social media, you want to make sure that you show up as the same person when they actually get to meet you.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Yeah, because as soon as you create that doubt, and you mentioned clarity, right? Clarity, doubt is the way to kill a business. Hard to overcome it, even if it's as simple as, it's kind of, a lot of people use the dating analogy, right? So if your profile pic is X, but then you show up in the Zoom and the torn T-shirt and all that, just be you, right? And find
20,
people.
20 years older, I mean, it happens all the time when and I'm marginally guilty of that too. You look at the photo on somebody's LinkedIn profile And then you meet them on Zoom and you go like, whoa, is that the same person? So, and again, especially for us women where we do have the photo shoot and there's a whole hair and makeup thing happening and then it's being photo touched and stuff like that. And I always try to, yes, I want that beautiful picture, but I also want to make sure that I'm still Nina. And when they meet me, I'm not, a bad dating experience, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And even to the point today was the first day we've actually met in person, but face to face had the conversation. But I feel like I've known you by listening to your content and watching, right? It's, you do think you get to know people. Well, you do get to know people. I've got to know you, but it's one-sided, right? Because
I sometimes have to be really conscientious of that somebody might be feeling a lot more familiar with me than I will with them. And I always make sure that I do that little extra homework. So I'm not coming into a call completely unprepared.
Yeah. I mean,
because otherwise there's a disbalance, which can get a little wonky,
Exactly. Well, Nina, I want to be super respectful of your time. Is there anything we didn't touch on today you think we should let the audience?
So much.
I know. Like I said, I'd probably do this another 35 minutes as I've already got 3 pages of notes going through this.
I think we sort of got the essence of it. So, it just basically do it by yourself, do it with friends. Get some help, and don't get yourself bought into getting technically super complicated. It's not serving you well if the purpose is not doing Gone with the Wind 3, right. But actually just getting out some videos so people can get to know you on social media.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Unless you like podcast wise, you've got, NPR is highly produced, highly edited, right? Polished shows, but some of the most popular ones aren't.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It's just people want to connect with people. So I think that's great advice. And I do highly encourage folks to get out there and follow your content and reach out. And if folks do want to learn more about you or connect with you, what's the best place for them to do that?
I mean, if you want to check out our website, which is clockwiseproductions.com, that would be lovely. But if you're not ready for that, just go on LinkedIn, Nina Froriep. I'm the only one with that last name, and just follow us on LinkedIn and see, because we do as we preach, and preach is never the right word, as we do. We do as we say.
Walk the talk.
We walk the talk. Thank you. That's much better. So LinkedIn is a great way to experience us. Always feel free to DM me if you have questions. If you want me to look at a video, I'm happy to do so. And we offer free masterclasses on how to create binge-worthy content that attracts your ideal clients. And the next one we have is on December the 14th at 5:30 Eastern. So would love to see you there. It's a great way to experience how we work with our clients. We give you tons of great ideas and how to think about your content and what kind of content is great content. So please join us for that. And just ping me on LinkedIn and I'll send you a link to sign up for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I highly encourage you to check out your content because not only it's you, but you've got your clients and folks talking about their journey. So no matter where you are in your video journey and you're like stumbling along like me or just thinking about it, that Nina's a great place to start. So Nina, again, thank you for joining us and educating us and giving me that push that like I said, I should have had you on a couple of weeks ago before I started, but hey, done is better than perfect. Now I can work on making it better. Yeah. So I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.